It's early evening. The house is quiet in the comfortable way it gets after a long day. You stand up from the couch to grab a glass of water from the kitchen. As you walk down the hallway, you hear it. The soft, familiar sound of paws on the floor behind you. Your dog appears a few seconds later, stopping just inside the kitchen doorway. They don't ask for anything. They don't bark. They simply lie down on the floor where they can see you. You fill your glass, take a sip, and head back toward the living room. Again, those quiet footsteps follow. When you sit down, your dog circles once and settles nearby. Not on top of you, not demanding attention, just close enough. Later, when you stand to check something in another room, the same thing happens. A pause, then the gentle rhythm of paws following you down the hall. It happens so often you barely notice it anymore. Friends see it and smile. Your dog is obsessed with you. And maybe that's what it looks like. But that quiet habit, your dog following you from room to room, may not be about affection in the way most people think. Most dog owners interpret this behavior in a very simple way. Your dog follows you because they love you. It feels logical. Dogs are social animals. They bond with their humans. Of course they want to be nearby. Many people even see it as a kind of compliment. Proof that their dog is loyal, affectionate, maybe even a little protective. Some owners jokingly call their dog a Velcro dog, the kind that sticks close no matter where you go. And in many cases, it really does look like simple companionship. Your dog isn't whining. They aren't pulling on your clothes. They're just present, quietly moving through the house with you. So the assumption becomes easy. Your dog follows you because they want to be near the person they care about most. And in part, that's true. But researchers who study dog behavior have noticed something interesting about this seemingly simple habit. When scientists began measuring what dogs actually experience when their owners move around, or leave the room entirely, they discovered that following you may not just be about affection. It may be something much deeper. A biological system your dog uses to figure out whether the world around them is safe. Researchers began looking closely at this behavior in the early 2000s, particularly at Eötvös-Loránd University in Budapest, one of the leading centers for canine cognition research. In one well-known study published in 2013, a team led by behavioral scientist Claudia Topol examined how dogs respond to their owner's movement and absence. The researchers observed 51 family dogs in a controlled room designed to simulate an unfamiliar environment. The owners were instructed to move around the room naturally for a few minutes, then leave the room for short periods while cameras recorded the dog's behavior. What the researchers noticed was subtle but consistent. Before the owner even reached the door, many dogs began tracking their movement closely. They repositioned themselves so they could see the owner clearly. Some stood up and followed as the owner moved toward the exit. It wasn't random wandering. It was monitoring. When the owner left the room, the dog's behavior changed in measurable ways. Heart rate increased in many of the dogs, and movement patterns shifted toward the door where the owner had exited. When the owner returned, the dogs quickly relaxed and resumed exploratory behavior. But the most interesting part came when the researchers compared dogs to human infants in a classic secure base experiment. Just like infants exploring a room while periodically checking back with a caregiver, dogs explored confidently when their owner was present, but stayed much closer when the owner moved away. In other words, your dog following you around the house may not just be companionship. It may be the same attachment system that human children use to track the presence of someone they trust. What's happening inside your dog's body during these moments reveals something even more interesting. Attachment behaviors are not just emotional habits. They are biological regulation systems. When a dog is near a trusted human, several physiological systems begin to shift. One of the most important involves the hormone oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. In a landmark 2015 study from Azabu University in Japan, researchers measured oxytocin levels in both dogs and their owners during periods of mutual gaze and proximity. The study involved 30 dog owner pairs. After just 30 minutes of interaction, oxytocin levels in both species had significantly increased. But oxytocin doesn't just create feelings of affection. It also reduces activity in the stress response system. At the same time, another hormone, cortisol, begins to decrease. Cortisol is the body's primary stress hormone, released by the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis when an animal perceives uncertainty or threat. When your dog is able to track your movement through the house, something subtle happens in this system. Their brain receives continuous confirmation that their secure base is still present. This stabilizes the autonomic nervous system, the system responsible for regulating heart rate, breathing, and vigilance. Studies measuring heart rate variability in dogs have shown that proximity to a familiar human can increase parasympathetic activity, the branch of the nervous system associated with calm, restorative states. In simple terms, your presence literally helps regulate your dog's body. But that regulation requires information. Your dog's brain is constantly answering a quiet question. Where is the human I rely on? Following you from room to room is one way the brain keeps that answer clear. It's not about needing attention. It's about maintaining a stable emotional environment. To understand why this system exists at all, you have to step far beyond the modern house and look back thousands of years. Long before dogs lived in living rooms and followed people from kitchen to hallway, their ancestors were wolves living in tightly coordinated social groups. In a wolf pack, survival depended on staying connected to key members of the group. Separation from the pack could mean losing protection, losing access to food, or losing vital social cues about danger. Over time, as wolves began living alongside humans, something remarkable happened. The same social tracking system that once helped wolves stay close to their pack began adapting to a new kind of relationship. Us. Archaeological evidence suggests humans and proto-dogs have been living together for at least 14,000 to 15,000 years. Burial sites discovered in Germany and Israel show humans buried alongside dogs, suggesting not just coexistence, but emotional bonds. Through domestication, dogs evolved to become unusually sensitive to human behavior. They learned to read our gestures, follow our gaze, and monitor our movements in ways that even chimpanzees often cannot. So when your dog quietly follows you down the hallway, they may be engaging a system that is far older than your house, older than modern cities, even older than agriculture. A system designed to keep them connected to the individual who defines their sense of safety. But here is where the interpretation begins to shift. Because following you everywhere does not always mean the same thing. Sometimes it is a relaxed attachment behavior. Your dog casually checking where you are, then settling down once they confirm you're nearby. In those cases, the movement is loose and flexible. Your dog may follow you to another room, but if you close a door or stay somewhere for a while, they simply lie down and relax. Other times, the pattern looks almost identical on the surface, but the emotional meaning underneath is different. Researchers studying separation-related behaviors have noticed that some dogs don't just follow out of curiosity or bonding. They follow because their brain is constantly monitoring the possibility of losing contact with their secure base. In these cases, the dog isn't just near you. They are tracking you, You may notice small details. The dog stands up the moment you shift in your chair, watches the doorway when you leave a room, or moves quickly to re-establish visual contact. To most people, it still looks like loyalty, but behaviorally, it can resemble what psychologists call hyperattachment, a state where proximity becomes the dog's primary strategy for maintaining emotional stability. The behavior hasn't changed. Your interpretation of it just has, and this is where paying attention to small changes can matter. Most dogs will occasionally follow their owners through the house. It's part of how they stay socially connected. But researchers and veterinary behaviorists often suggest watching for subtle shifts in how this behavior appears over time. If a dog who once followed casually begins to shadow every movement you make, it can signal that something in their environment or routine has changed. Perhaps the household schedule shifted. Perhaps the dog experienced a stressful event, a move, or a period of separation. Sometimes the first signs are quiet. Your dog begins waiting outside the bathroom door. They stop settling in another room. They stand up every time you stand up, even if you only move a few steps. None of this means something is wrong, but it can mean your dog's brain is working harder than usual to maintain a sense of security. And noticing that change early gives you the chance to help restore that balance. Later tonight, you might stand up again to walk into the kitchen. Without thinking much about it, you'll hear the same quiet rhythm behind you, the soft tap of paws following down the hallway. Your dog will appear in the doorway, pause, and settle somewhere nearby where they can still see you. For years, moments like this may have felt simple, a small sign of affection, your dog just wanting to be close. And in many ways, that interpretation wasn't wrong. But now, the moment carries a different meaning. Your dog may not just be following you because they enjoy your company. They may be quietly calibrating their world around your presence, confirming that the person their brain treats as a secure base is still nearby. A behavior that once looked ordinary may actually be one of the deepest expressions of the bond dogs have evolved to share with us. If this changed how you see your dog, you're not alone. Many of the behaviors we interpret as simple affection turn out to be part of something much more complex, a biological system shaped by thousands of years of living beside humans. So the next time your dog quietly follows you from one room to another, pause for a moment and notice it. Not just the movement, but the relationship behind it. I'm curious about your experience. Does your dog follow you everywhere in the house, or do they prefer to stay in one place and wait for you to return? Tell me in the comments. Small differences in that pattern can reveal a lot about how dogs form attachments. And in the next video, we'll explore another behavior many owners misunderstand: what it actually means when your dog stares at you in complete silence,